Hey Shrub Crafters, wanted to talk a little bit about the Great Plains Lyman rifle. It's my first black powder, and I want to go over a few of the issues I've had with it, and talk about some of the solutions to that. Try to keep this quick, but if you've ever watched any of my videos, that never seems to happen. And if you suffer through them, great. First thing is talking about seasoning. There's a lot of people talk about seasoning their barrels, so I would highly recommend you get a good Italian seasoning, just because it's ready mixed, and you mix this and you're gonna put it down the barrel. Here is the Lyman Great Plains. Specs are all over online. This is the first one I got. I bought it in a completed form from Mid-South Shooters Supply, probably the cheapest place online to buy them. Great product, great customer service, fast shipping. This is the original ramrod, and I've used this since 2005 on here to ram a ton home. My first year using it, I did have a chunk of it right here break off. It's the only thing that's happened since then. I have in the meantime gone out and gotten from Track the Wolf one of these, I believe, Delrin wood looking flex rods, unbreakable or almost unbreakable replacements. Fits down inside as well. Shrub kitty. Well, see if she'll say hi. She always loves me in the videos. First thing that you're going to notice about this, it has a beautiful cheek cone cut out, heavy duty butt plate and toe cap cover. These are great in the fact that they're going to protect the wood. There's a lot of information on these, but I think I paid around $500 in 2005 for this. Right out of the box, first thing was some of these barrel wedges which pop out from the side. They're actually tight now. Oh, here we go. These barrel wedges slide right out, and then pull both out, and you can pull your barrel assembly out. The solution to a loose wedge is to put it into a vise and gently tap it with, basically creating a slight bow or a flex. You can try to peen them a little bit, but peening will make them harder to get through the slot, so a slight bend is all you need. You can slightly heat it up if you need to, if you're having trouble bending it. Doesn't take much. Once you do that, they don't fall out, and it keeps it rock solid. The buckhorn sights right here are easy to use, has a wide deep notch behind, and a very nice wide front sight. Mine has been filed down. Don't necessarily need to file it down because you do have an adjustment screw here that will help with elevation. I actually filed this down, left this, adjusted this a little bit kind of into the center, and then filed this down to meet my patched round ball. On here, double set triggers. So percussion lock, double set, and not quite as hair. You'll see. Let me see if I can get right here. I'll do it from behind. Still pushing, still pushing. There's a lot of creep right there. Not as hair. The set screw underneath, in between the two triggers, right there, is all the way in. So the solution to this is to go out and buy a metric threaded screw and replace this screw, and to put pressure on that spring, which creates more distance, or pushes in, which allows that trigger to be lighter. Out of the box, no issues. I started firing this in 2005, purchased it, had it in Florida. Nobody in Florida had black powder locally. I did not know about Graf's Brothers, did not know about Track the Wolf and some others to do that. So I got Pyrodex from my local gun store, and went and right out of the box, put one patch down it, put a little bit of boar butter down it, cleaned it out, and started shooting. It was standard factory blued nipple. This is replaced with a musket nipple, but the blued nipple worked great with the Pyredex. So then I went to clean it, and I used a standard black powder bore solvent, scrubbed it out, pushed through there, did not use my hot water method that my uncle told me and that every other frontiersman used over all those years. The time I had a deer in front of sights, it was about 15 yards broadside. I did a little creep up on it, pulled the trigger, and snapped the cap on it, and it didn't go off. So in frustration, he put another cap on after he ran away, went back to, at the end of the day, to the range at my buddy's property, our little sighting area, and pulled the trigger, and it went right off. So then I changed to a standard number 11 cap, but a Spitfire, which is slightly larger, and that worked fine for a long time. And then about 2 years ago, same thing, still not using, or was using real black powder at this point, but had probably put a few hundred rounds of Pyredex through here. I know it was at least probably 2 pounds of powder, so how many shots I got through here. And using real black powder, had a deer 2 years ago walk out in front of me, pulled the trigger, and nothing. Had a coyote walk out in front of me another time, nothing. Even though I had shot it the day before, probably 40 times the day before with no issues keeping this clean. So I switched to the musket caps, cleaned everything out. Same thing, misfires when a real animal came out, nothing on the range. So the issues that I've had on number 11 is seating my caps fully. Keeping this nipple clean allows you to push that cap on with a capper firmly and all the way down. I have had some times where this hammer falls and seats the cap without going off. That's an early thing I used to do that didn't quite make sense. And if you look, this hammer is a little offset. You can see the wiggle room on there, so you can try to tighten this up. You could bend it a little bit. This one still falls firmly. You shouldn't dry fire these consistently. This falls though onto that. So the first thing was the nipples. If they get dirty, you have trouble putting the caps on. So the key to that is clean your nipples. The second thing, if you go to a Spitfire titanium, they stay cleaner, and just wipe them down between shots. It's going to go a lot farther, just like on a flintlock. Use a little bit of alcohol or cleaner, and then carry a little pick to pick out the top, or pipe cleaners work really good. These musket nipples are even bigger, lets you go through. A simple solution, though, that will save you grief and aggravation if you are going to purchase one of these and go right away, is do not use Pyredex, do not use black powder substitutes. Use pure black powder. Substitutes work for inlines, they work for other guns. They do not work very well at all for flintlocks because their burn temperatures are too high, so you have trouble igniting them. Black powder is easy. There's no excuse not to get it now. You can get them from Graf's Brothers. They'll ship you 1 pound, they'll ship you 50 pounds. It's also easier to clean. So the hot water boiling method going down here, scrubbing the barrel, I have a video on that. Clean that up. It pushes it out. Put a little Hoppy's number 9 board patch lube and cleaner through there, and that's it. Store it just like that. And when you're ready to go, the next time you're going to shoot it, run a dry patch down, pull any excess out, snap a couple of caps. One thing that will help is if you this needs just a little bit of tightening. The night before you go hunting, let's just do a perfect scenario. If you're going to use boar butter, run your boar butter down. If you want to season it, if you don't want to season it, that's up to you. I don't feel the need to season, but if you're using lubed patches anyway, you kind of are seasoning. And if you have a brand new barrel, like I have that Pennsylvania that just came, I'm going to do the boiling water method, run that down through there, and then I'm going to run some Hoppy's patches through, make sure everything's clean, and then I'm just going to commence shooting. You get ready to go hunting. You wake up that morning or the night before, you decide you're going to load your gun. So whichever way you do it, whether it's the morning or not, with a cap gun, what you should do is in your house, in your car, before you're in your tree stand, with an empty gun, after it's been swabbed down dry, ready to go, so you pull it off the rack, there's a little bit of oil from storage, you run your ramrod down with a patch, pull it out, and make sure everything is clean and dry. The next thing I do is come down to this end and either take this set screw out and run a pipe cleaner in and out, or some kind of cleaner. If you know it's 100% clean, then what I would do is put a cap on. And a great little tip and trick I picked up from an old shooter is get a white piece of paper, throw it on the ground when you're in the darkness of the morning or night, put a cap on, and you'll see in references all over, pull and shoot a cap empty and look for the movement on a blade of grass or something. That's great, but it's hard to see. So if you're snapping a cap and you turn it away from you, I shield myself so I'm not seeing anything down here. I'll look down at the ground, pull, snap a cap. You should be able to see the flash on the white paper reflecting back. That tells you there's no obstruction in here. So I'll snap a few of those. At that point, I know I'm ready to go. I will run my pipe cleaner back down, clean that flash channel out, wait about a minute or two, and then put the powder in. Pour the powder in, tap the barrel all the way down, and then you can tap right here by the drum, seat some powder out of the chamber in underneath the nipple. That's something that you want to do. The other thing is, the nipples don't need to be over tightened. In all purposes, once that's all loaded, put your ball and patch in. You then put a cap on, and if you're on half cock, carry it around through the day, and you have a loaded firearm. If you're doing the hot water method and you're not over lubricating or you haven't used Pyrodex in your gun, you should go off every time. And the key crucial thing to do with black powder is when you are done for the day, if you have shot that firearm, clean it. Don't put it away dirty, don't wait, because that fouling is going to sit down there and just makes it harder to clean. Hot water though, boiling hot water, down the barrel, you can swab that out, you just keep going within a matter of minutes, probably 10 minutes or less, you can have your barrel spotless, ready to go. So there's a lot of information out there. I would highly suggest if you have a club locally nearby and people who are shooting this, talk to them, learn from them. There's a guy named Sam Fidala, I believe, who has a book on muzzle loading as well that is just filled with all the information you need. A lot of opinions, a lot of information out there. In terms of seasoning your barrel, it's up to you. Read all the experts. Modern day steels are phenomenal. Boar butter, use it if you want to, use it if not. When I stopped using boar butter, I just started using hot water method and just using lightly lubed, patched balls, and the lube being the Hoppe's No. 9 black powder, lube, and solvent. It cleans on the way out, keeps my gun going. You can swab. I can do probably 5 or 6 shots, progressively getting harder, but not unreasonable to load. And then throw a patch down with some of that lube on, and I do another 5 or 6, no problem. Black powder. I've heard people say they can get 100 shots off. And, there's an article about boar butter, lubing, and all that. I found boar butter just gums up in the back, especially used with Pyrodex. So you just got to get it out. And that's the problem, is too much of it down there. So an over lubing, slow. As long as the powder stays, and most of these lubes work with the powder, you should be able to get it out, and it does help clean down the barrel. Seasoning cast iron. Cast iron is different nowadays than a rifle barrel of modern steel. But it makes sense. We cook on cast iron all the time. I get the process of seasoning, but I think if you're doing some basic hot water cleaning, you're oiling with a proper, either a ballast oil and water, boar butter, as long as you're not overdoing it, I don't think you're going to have any problems. And as long as you are using proper caps, number 11s, if you're not getting consistent ignition, doing everything right, knowing your channel is clear, check the depth of your nipple. Don't over tighten your nipples because you don't want to deform anything. Check the depth of the bolsters going in. Check all those combinations to make sure that your channel is clear, and at which point you shouldn't then have any issues, especially using the hot water cleaning method, because all that crud is gone and properly lubed. I don't have any rust in my guns and my barrels. I don't know if you can, I doubt you can see, there's bad lighting right now. But this one has been stored. There's nothing on it. Looks good, rifling looks good, everything is clean. So, Lyman Great Plains, some basic tips and tricks that I work through. Get rid of the Pyrodex, find a patch and ball combination that works. Stick with 2F powder to start. Some people say in a 50 go to 3F. Just be aware that between Swiss powders, Swiss tends to burn hotter, so make sure you find the right consistency, because a 3F and a 2F between them are different, between like GoX and Schutzen and Swiss. but find the combination that works for you and use the minimal amount of powder that pushes the ball out of the barrel without getting extra powder coming out the end. You want to find that happy medium and find one that doesn't kill your shoulder. I mean, a 60 grains and 70 grains out of here is a comfortable all-day shooting. You know, and I'm confident with the 60 grains coming out of here, you can put a deer down with that, no problem. 50 grains, you can put a deer down close enough. You know, you do get some you get better flattening and deformation with a higher to a point. So, black powder, phenomenal. Percussion issues I've had. Hope some of these help you. The only other thing actually I forgot to mention is the front sight. I ended up having to take it off because it fell off, and I drilled it out, tapped it, and put a little set screw on the front sight on here. Other than that, it's phenomenal. For a first black powder gun, I would highly recommend it. It's heavy, but it feels good and weighty in your hand. It feels like a real gun. It doesn't feel cheap. Adjustable sights. What you get for the money, I think this is probably one of the best first black powder traditional guns you can buy. For $500, I think you know, you can still get them on sub $650 for a flintlock on down at Mid-South Shooter. Extra nipples, I would get some extra nipples and go to town on it. But season in the barrel, your call. You know, you look at it, there's a lot of opinions about it. I think the number one tip that improved all of my shooting, I have not had a misfire, knock on wood, on any of my guns, any of my black powder guns, since switching to strictly water. I mean, all I had to do was do hot boiling water, Hoppy's number 9 down. I've never had a misfire since with that basic clean. I have with Track of the Wolf spore solvents, I have with Pyrodex, I have with black powder and solvents. Took all of that out of the equation. I mean, I've got 4 tubes of CVA and Thompson boar butter lubricants, and they're just sitting there now because the Hoppy's number 9 lube just works, and it only takes a little bit to go a long way. My guns have never been cleaner, and the hot water, you know, works. And the frontiersmen didn't have access to all those chemicals and cleaners, and they relied on them. I mean, it was their life. If it didn't go off, they were in trouble. Hope this gives you a little bit of information. Definitely too long of a video again, I'm sure, but I hope you find the information I'm portraying to you useful and helpful, so that you don't go from having a rifle that shoots to not shooting and then trying to figure out what's going on. Hope that gets you pointed in the right direction. Highly recommend this as a first one. You know, any of the again with the ball twist on here of a 1 in 66, just can't beat it. It's nice, it's tall, it balances well, and it handles well, and it's just a joy to shoot. If you go with a 54 caliber, just on note, the barrel is going to be drilled out a little bit more, so it's going to be lighter than a 50. So if you're looking for a slightly lighter gun, but you still want that long length, go with the 54. It will lighten it up because even though it's the same diameter barrel, you're just a wider hole down there, which takes off metal. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments, questions about black powder shooting that I can help you with, that'd be great. And if not, we'll be I'm going to be putting up a lot more shooting videos on the black powder, just because we're getting ready to season, and there's just nothing like it. And taking an animal with this, or just target shooting, is just awesome. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.